And the sweat droplets are beginning to collect. Right here. And Ammar's like, what?
What sweat?
He's like, I just spent time in the
Outback.
In the Outback, yeah.
It wasn't hot though. They were going towards winter.
Well, it is their winter now.
Yeah.
Because south of the equator, it's opposite day. Ready?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the 99 Names. I'm your host, Bilal Khan, and I have here with us
Assalamu alaikum.
Ammar AlShukry.
Ahlan wa sahlan. Nice to see you all again.
Yes.
So we are going to go over the name of Allah, Al-Haadi.
Al-Haadi.
Al-Haadi means the guide or the guider.
The guider. Is it appropriate for somebody to be named just Haadi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What? Why is it that some people, when they see a name of Allah, and then they see somebody who has a name without the al, they're like, you can't have that name?
I mean, it depends on the name.
Okay.
So a person can't say that absolutely. There are some names that are absolutely able to be. So, for example, Al-Ali is one of the names of Allah.
Okay.
And yet Ali ibn Abi Talib is one of the companions, right?
Sure.
So it depends on whether it is an attribute that can be shared by human beings.
Okay.
Ali means lofty. A human being can be a lofty, high individual. The
Okay.
only difference is that, of course, Allah's names all prove his attributes. Whereas with human beings, their attributes aren't necessarily proven
They
by
have
their
to
names.
try to live up to it.
They have to live up to them. You can have a person whose name is Hakim,
Yeah. And
wise,
they're like,
and they're
totally
not wise.
not.
Yes. You can have a person named Jamil and they're
Yeah.
not beautiful. You can have a person named Kareem and they're not generous.
Yeah.
So Allah's names all, though, carry or they prove that he has those attributes.
He's the most absolute form
There
of
are
it.
some names that, of course, are not allowed for human beings to have because they are names that are godly, or let's say they are restricted to God.
Okay.
So such as, for example, Allah, Al-Ilah, Ar-Rahman.
Sure. But somebody could be Rahman. No.
No, someone can't be. That name is actually not allowed.
But they can be
according to
Abdul
the-
Rahman.
They can be Abdul Rahman. Rahim, they can. And
Yeah.
in fact, Allah calls the Prophet ﷺ Rahim in the Quran. He says,
Okay.
"Mu'minina Ra'uf and Rahim." He calls the Prophet both Ra'uf and Rahim. So Ra'uf and Rahim are both by the text of the Quran allowed for a person to have that description. Hadi means guide. Can a person be a guide? Of course.
Like Huda.
Of course, a girl, that would be a girl's version of it. But
Yeah.
Huda means guidance. So
Okay.
it's not attributing it to a person.
Okay.
But Hadi, absolutely, a person can be a guide. And in fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that a number of people guide in the Quran. He tells that the prophets guide. He says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself guides.
Yeah.
He says that you, O Muhammad, guide to the straight path.
Sure.
Interestingly enough, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Prophet that you guide to the straight path.
Yeah.
And then in another verse, he tells him, you do not guide whom you love.
Okay.
And so it creates a imagined or a possible conflict in the mind of the reader. Does the Prophet guide or not?
It's like the in sales training, one of the things that we are taught is that, look, your job is to knock on doors, but you can't convert anybody. Right? Your job is to knock on as many doors as possible so that you can come across people who are open to what you're offering.
And in doing so, you are guiding them to some better
They're looking for an
product
option,
or something
yeah.
like that. Absolutely.
Okay.
So, and that is the way to resolve this issue, in the sense that there are two types of guidance scholars talk about. They'll talk about the guidance of instruction.
Yeah.
And that is a guidance that we all have the possibility to be. We can all guide people to the truth. We can all guide people to the Quran.
It's like
We can guide people to the Sunnah. We instruct them and talk to them, and
it's like the idea that you can lead an animal to water, but you can't make
force it to
Yeah.
drink. Yeah, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Exactly,
Yeah.
That's the exact idea. However, when it comes to the second level of guidance, which is called Hidayat al-Tawfiq, or the Hidayah of success,
Sure.
that is a guidance that only belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the Prophet can guide his uncle Abu Talib
Yeah.
to the truth and all of that, but when he passed away, the Prophet ﷺ was told by Allah, you don't guide whom you love, but Allah guides whom he wishes. You can't force them.
This lesson to prophets as an example to us, the thing is, we see this theme in amongst the stories of many prophets. You see it among
Noah and his
with his son, with Lut and his wife, with Ibrahim and his father, with who was it with Musa? Was it Pharaoh?
Musa and Pharaoh, and
Yep. I wonder if there was any kind of emotional tension there, considering he grew up in his house.
Well, Pharaoh says to him, "Didn't we raise you?
Mm-hmm.
Like we facilitated everything for you."
Yeah.
And then Musa alayhi salam responds and he says, وَتِلْكَ نِعْمَةٌ تَمُنُّ عَلَيَّ أَنْ عَبَّدْتَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيل. He says, and that's a blessing that you are hanging over my head when you enslave the children of Israel. And I love that line so much. You know why? Because it's a line that is spoken on the tongue of everybody who has a people who belongs to a people that are oppressed, but they themselves might be the benefactors of certain resources. Right. So just because, for example, I happen to go to university in the United States and lived my whole life here and things like that, does not mean that now I have to turn my back on something that the United States might do that is wrong to another group of people that I might belong to, right? Like Sudan or some other community that I belong to, the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so Musa is saying, hey, you can't hang that over my head. Like, you taking care of me does not justify you enslaving the children of Israel, nor is it going to make me turn a blind eye to it.
Nor does it make up for those injustices.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so Fir'aun tries to kind of bait Musa with that. And he doesn't bite.
Interesting. Okay. So
two types of guidance. So you have the guidance of tawfiq, which you can't force anybody to, at the end of the day, be guided. You can't. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who controls people's heart. And then you have the guidance of irshad. There's another type of guidance that Musa himself alludes to when he's presenting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to.
It's like dawah training coming back here.
Yeah. So he presents it to Fir'aun when he says, our Lord is the one who gave everything its shape, thumma hada, and guided everything. And so this level of guidance is the instincts that Allah places in every being's heart. Like, how do birds know how to migrate, and how do, penguins know where to go in their 1,000-mile migration or thousands of miles?
The most fascinating thing that I've ever seen was back when I had a cat. It got knocked up by some neighborhood cat, and it gave birth. And what it knew and how to take care of its kittens. Immediately.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we had another cat that wasn't the father of the cats, and he started hissing at the babies, and right away the mother cat licks the face of, like, the guy cat
of her husband that she cheated on,
if you want to call it that, and he just immediately stops hissing. And it's just and on top of that, later on, like, I guess it was this. I didn't know why this cat was taking, because she had like 6 kittens. Like, 2 of them were in one corner, 2 of them were in a closet, another 2 of them in another part of the area. I'm like, why are you, like, what's the point? Apparently, this is a natural instinct to protect its children, so that if there are any predators that want to kill the kittens,
they don't take all of them.
Yes.
Ajib. That's amazing.
Although, like, it's weird because, like, you're in the house here. Who's gonna take your?
No, I mean, you see this all throughout nature. I remember watching a documentary once about deer, and this deer gave birth to her fawn, and as soon as she gave birth to the fawn, she started licking off the trace of the birth. Yeah. And the narrator was saying this is because of the scent of predators, or predators immediately sent it. And then there was a wolf who came into the picture. Yeah. And so when the mother deer realized that there was a wolf nearby, she took off and she started running in plain view of the wolf on 3 legs. And so it's like, why are you running on 3 legs? And
to make it look like it's injured?
So that you make it look like it's injured, so that the wolf will chase after her, and she's leading the wolf away from her baby. So all of these, like, incredible instincts at play. This is one of the manifestations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being al-Haadi, the one who guides everything to its self-preservation. And then as far as just how to interact with this name.
Just this idea of preservation of life is instinctually built into creation. Yeah. But then the question is, humanity has the audacity to kill its own kind. Do species of their own kill each other? Sometimes. Yeah. Like deer, I don't know, like, I'm imagining deer.
Not deer, but there are some animals. I'm trying to remember what. You have the praying mantis that kills I think she kills her spouse. You have some types of spiders.
Well, the black widow spider.
The black widow.
But she needs to do that in order to lay her eggs in him.
Well, whatever. I mean, for whatever reason, she still does it.
Okay.
Right? So there are some animals that do that, but obviously there are.
But part of it is still for the preservation and of the species, but just out of like cold blood.
Well, no, there's some sort of motive of self-preservation that's involved in the killing usually.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's greed, wanting resources, or what have you.
Okay.
You know, there's some sort of instinct.
Just intellectually complicated.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we were saying, as far as interacting with this name, it's number one is to ask Allah for guidance,
Sure.
of course. And again, the most common supplication we make in our salah is Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. And that creates in a person incredible Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, meaning guide us to the straight path. And that's in Surah Al-Fatiha, the first chapter of the Quran. That's the chapter that we recite in every unit of every prayer, every rak'ah of every prayer. And so guide us to the straight path, recognizing that we're constantly in need of guidance. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
it's GPS going recalculating.
Exactly, always, right?
Was it the
that's
satellite?
A beautiful example. Yeah.
It was interesting because this was an example. Actually, two points come to mind. They say that a satellite, one like these that go take pictures of planets and go past Pluto.
It's
and
funny,
stuff.
like Bilal finally says a gem that crashes my brain, and he says it in such passing. He's trying to get to his next point. I'm like, that's like the best thing you said in 2018. That GPS recalculating. That was really good.
It was the satellites that are sent out there. They're on course less than 14% of the time because they're always readjusting for the fact that they're off course. And it's interesting because they're like, you don't always have to be right. You just have to know when you're not right to recorrect. And this idea that because the concept of tawbah, where is the concept of tawbah isn't that it's making a U-turn. It's that when the GPS is saying recalculating or rerouting, it's like for you to come back to be back on course to wherever it is that you're going.
That would be a very good visual video.
I'm just imagining your GPS when you just like, okay, Google says to go this way, and then
just GPS it and bring it back. It's very good. Yeah. Exactly.
So if you want to know what tawbah is,
it's making a U-turn.
Yeah, it's make a U-turn
and getting back where you were supposed to go.
Yeah. It's fascinating. Even storytelling, they said that good storytelling has three key types of conflict or resistance. That conflict or resistance comes in the form of either a complication, it just slows you down. Or it comes in the form of a detour where you just need to now take a longer path around. Or it comes in the form of a U-turn where you just literally have to go back, start back at square one to find a new way to get to the destination because you were just so off course.
So the Odyssey would be a detour.
The Odyssey?
The Odyssey, Greek mythology.
Oh, you talk about the Iliad and the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Well, the Iliad is a separate story.
Well,
the Iliad is the Trojan War.
Right, but the Odyssey doesn't happen until the Iliad does.
Yeah, but you can mention the Odyssey as a standalone event.
To me, they're all one. It's one saga.
I know.
Essentially. I mean, but even within that, there are complications,
setbacks, complications,
detours, and even within a scene, like there was a study of Toy Story. From with every scene, that scene exists because there's the existence of any one of those three, and that's one of the key things. Like if you don't have complications or detours or U-turns, then that scene has no purpose.
And that's that's a beautiful concept to the notion of the beauty of our lives, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people stress so much because there are problems that exist in their lives, and it's like if you didn't have problems, your story would be boring. Like, who's gonna want to watch a movie of your life if there's no? Who's gonna want to read your book of deeds in Jannah if there's no like all of these people who we read about? There was a
they didn't have easy lives.
No. Make your story worth telling.
Yeah. So the question now is, what is it that you're working towards? What are the challenges that you're trying to overcome? What are the problems that you're trying to solve? Granted, in any one of these cases, you're going to run into resistance.
So there's a lot, just to wrap up this session, there's a lot of different supplications the Prophet ﷺ used to make for guidance. So he would say, for example,
he would read Surah Al-Fatiha.
Reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, of course, and of it is he used to say, as he taught Ali to say, Ahdini إلى أحسن الأخلاق. Guide me to the best of character. No one guides to the best of it
How does
except
that
for
go?
you. أهدني
أهدني
إلى أحسن الأخلاق.
إلى أحسن الأخلاق.
لا يهدي
لا يهدي
إلى أحسنها
إلى أحسنها
إلا أنت.
إلا أنت.
واصرف عني.
Wait, there's more?
And it continues. So, and then it says,
it just keeps going.
It says, guide me to the best of character. No one guides to the best of character except for you.
Yeah.
And divert from me
Yeah.
the worst of character. No one diverts from the worst of character except for you. So it's asking for guidance and asking for protection. Another supplication, of course, is the one that we're fast approaching Ramadan.
Yeah.
That you hear at the beginning of the witr dua, which is Allahumma hdina fi man hadayt. وعافنا في من عافيت. Oh Allah, guide us amongst those you've guided. There are lots of other supplications for guidance. Of them is a beautiful one where the Prophet ﷺ, when he would begin his night prayer, his night vigil, he would say, أهدني لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك. He would say, oh Allah, guide me to what the people have differed regarding the truth. So the people have differed regarding the truth. Guide me to the truth through it.
So this is a good thing to ask for when somebody is confused in regards to differences of opinions and varying types of research and things like that.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, and so that is reported by Muslim, that last one that we mentioned. And with that, we conclude the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala al-Hadi. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam.
Assalamu alaikum, guys.